This is the Keyboard Warrior here, and I hope you all doing fine. So, the market for Path of Exile 2 is currently broken, right? If you want to buy anything nice, probably have to spend lots of divines, and having a proper endgame build at the moment seems impossible without tons of divines, alright? And we all basically know how rare divine orbs are in the game. So I'm gonna be helping you get a really low budget monk build for the end game that would help you clear out up to tier 12s and maybe 13s even. And yeah, so without further ado, let's check this build out. Alright, first let's take a look at the gear, right? This is the quarterstaff that I'm using, and you see over here my quarterstaff is basically focused on physical damage, a little bit of lightning damage, because I'm going to be using both shock and freeze on my build, right? So a little bit of lightning damage, there's cold damage there as well, right? Key things that you should be looking for is the max amount of physical damage that you can get for your level, the attack speed, and of course maybe life per enemy or anything like that. Right, anything that would help you with your build, right? But the most important stuff is the attack speed and the physical damage, right? Next up we have the helmet, and for that you're gonna be focusing more on evasion and energy shield. The more evasion the better, the more energy shield the better, and then you're gonna be focusing on some resistance like fire, cold, lightning, whatever you can get, right? Maximum mana, maybe. Yeah. This one basically costed me around, say, 2 Exalts, right? And this quarterstaff is the most expensive item that I'm using, and it's worth 10 Exalts, right? If 10 Exalts is the most expensive item that I'm using, you could very well understand that this build is actually a budget build, right? Next up, we have the armor. Again, you could see my stats on the armor. My armor isn't that good, but I will be upgrading it later on. Maybe I'll spend another 10 exiles, maybe 20 on that armor. But for now, this one's working absolutely fine. What you have to make sure is you have enough evasion and energy shield, right? The more, the better. You can add in some resistance through the runes. Also make sure that you have some amount of dexterity on your armor as well. These are the boots that I'm using. Again, more evasion the better. Make sure you have at least 25 to 30% movement speed, and of course maximum mana, evasion, dexterity, right? This costed me around, again, 3 exiles, I guess. And the boots were really cheap. I got it for like 2 exiles, right? And then we have this belt. It costed me around 3 exiles, but the reason why I got this one is because of the instant recovery. Okay, you need that. Sometimes you need that when you're playing at higher tiers. You would know that if you are accidentally stepping on a blood pool or a poison pool or something like that, you know your health is gonna drain instantly. This is exactly why you need that instant recovery, right? So other than that, focus more on resistance, maybe stun threshold as well, right? Next up, we have the rings. Again, make sure you have as much resistance as possible on the rings. You could see my resistance over here is almost capped, a little bit on fire, a little bit low on fire, but the rest are almost capped. Next up, we have another ring. If you're gonna use a lot of spirit gems, you would need an additional slot, right? So this is why I have been using it, because in the future I would be adding one more um, spirit gem to my uh, list of skills. So I would be needing that extra skill slot. Yeah, that's basically about my gear. Now let's quickly hop on to the skills. All right, as you can see, I have like 69% evasion at the moment. I'll probably be building this up to at least 80 as I progress. So yeah, and so let's check out my skills. And right now I'm using the liquor plus the eye strike, right? So would have to use Herald of Thunder. You would have to use Herald of Ice. You need these two are absolutely important, right? Next up, we have Wind Dancer and also Ghost Dance. And one more, that would be Combat Frenzy, right? I'll explain why I have this in a moment. Now, what I'm trying to do over here is to add up as much shock and freeze to my build as possible, so that when I freeze, I trigger Herald of Ice, and when I shock, I trigger. Now, this is why I have opposite gems inserted in each of these skills, right? So for Herald of Ice, I have Lightning Infusion, then Magnified Effect for more area, and then Innovate, right? Now, as soon as Herald of Ice triggers, it should do a little bit of lightning damage to the surrounding enemies that would help me shock them. And the moment they shock and they die, it would trigger the Herald of Thunder, right? And that is why we have applied cold gems on the Herald of Thunder. So we have Cold Infusion, Glaciation, and Longshot. This will again help me freeze more enemies. So whenever the thunder strikes, the enemies would again be frozen. That would lead to more shattering and more Herald of Ice, and leading to more Herald of Thunder. So this thing goes on as a chain reaction, right? For the Ice Strike, I have Martial Tempo, I have Primal Armament, and I have Inspiration, right? Now, if I get enough mana regen, I would probably get this off and add something that would boost the damage a little bit. But for now, it's fine, right? You can use that. Then we have Combat Frenzy that lets you build power charges, all right? But for this, you need to have one specific node in your passive tree that will help you gain power charges whenever you're either shocking or freezing an enemy, right? So for this, we have Profusion that gives us an additional charge, 50% chance, of course. And then we have Precision, right? So, and then we have, of course, the Tempest Bell, which is actually one of the best skills for boss fights. And we're gonna be using Heavy Swing, Ruthless, and Rage on Tempest Bell, right? And then we have Ghost Dancer with Fast Forward to reduce the cooldown. And then we have Wind Dancer with Culling Strike and Blind, right? So yeah, that's basically how I have designed my build. Oh, and yes, I have Flickering Strike, which is again would use up all your power charges, but really helps you, take down elites, take down huge hordes of enemies. You can also use Falling Thunder. Now, I would recommend you to use Falling Thunder if you do not have enough defense, because at times Flickering Strike would, take you to places you don't want to be in. Like, there have been many times that I've died because of Flickering Strike, because I would probably end up in an explosion area and die. For this, I need to add Grim Fist, alright? With that ability, you can always have your energy shield up, and that would help you survive with a flicker build, right? So if you don't have that at the moment, you can also use Falling Thunder, and you can use the same gems for Falling Thunder, that is Overcharge and Conduction, right? So this is how I build my passive tree here. Evasion to over here, a little bit of movement speed, then some attack damage. For my ascendancy, I have Shock Effect, and I am the Thunder, Over here I have evasion and energy shield, and lead me through grace. That gives me more spirit. You need this. All right, this is the first thing that you need. Okay. All right, so this is how I have built my passive tree. You can take a look. A bit of elemental damage rather over here. Then critical chances, critical damage, of course. This is the node that I was talking about, where every frenzy charge that you build will change into a power charge. So whenever you freeze an enemy, you build a frenzy charge, but when you have this node, it turns into a power charge. All right, so this is something that you need. It's very essential for this build. All right. Also, make sure that you have enough power charges. Like I have 7. All right, so you can take one from here, you can take one from here, and you can also take one from here, I suppose. Yes. All right. You can also go over here and get more evasion, and then finally you can go over here, get some critical, and of course freeze build up. Right, so yeah, that's basically how my passive tree looks like, and that's basically the build. I guess this video will be helpful. Creating a good build is very difficult at the moment because of the absurd prices on items currently in the market. So this is something that you can easily grind and achieve, and the build wouldn't cost you more than let's say 20 to 22 exalts, right? So that's basically it, right? Be sure to leave a comment. Go ahead and like this video if you found it helpful, and do subscribe to the channel for more Path of Exile 2 content, right? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one.